Welcome back to Good Orderly Direction, Practical Tools of the Bible. Today we're going to continue looking at Genesis 29 and 30, the story of Rachel and Leah. Jacob's love for Rachel was greater than that for Leah. When the Lord saw that Leah was not loved, he enabled her to conceive and bear 4 sons for Jacob, but Rachel remained childless. When Rachel saw that she was not bearing Jacob any children, she became jealous of her sister. She said to Jacob, "Give me children or I will die." Jacob became angry with her and said, "Am I in the place of God who has kept you from having children?" Then she gave him her servant Bilhah, who bore him 2 sons. People often think we're more powerful than we are and try to control things that are just out of our control. When we fail, we seek someone to blame. Think about when this has happened to you. Was there a part of you that needed to take responsibility for what was going on? Maybe you made choices that moved you away from something. Or was it just the way it was? Or maybe, as in this case, you weren't getting certain things that you wanted because you had other things that other people may have wanted. So it may have been God's way of sort of balancing the playing field. Rachel becomes envious. We've seen this repeatedly with Cain and Abel, Rebecca and Hannah, Jacob and Esau, and now Rachel and Leah. Jealousy leads to nothing good. In each of these cases, the offenders were focused not on what they had, but what they did not have. How does focusing on what you lack prompt unnecessary anger, jealousy, and misery, and cause you to ignore or fail to be grateful for the things that you do have? How does this waste energy that could be used to achieve your goals or nurture the things that you do have, make the best of what you've got right now? All of these people failed to take personal inventory to figure out if God was trying to send them a message by withholding certain blessings, or if it was merely not yet the right time. So let's think about this from a good orderly direction perspective. Was the universe kind of trying to send you a message because you had not followed a particular path? The direction that you had chosen had led you away from getting particular blessings or achievements. So good orderly direction is the path that we follow. And sometimes we need to look at our own choices. Rachel failed to consider that Jacob adored her and paid much less attention to Leah. She also had a crisis of faith because she got angry at Jacob instead of asking God why she may not be getting pregnant. She got angry with Jacob. She looked for somebody to blame instead of trusting the plan. She had a crisis of faith that if I do the next right thing, then good things will happen. Remember back in this time, if a wife was unable to provide children, that was considered a really bad thing, and she was at risk of abandonment, if you will. But what Rachel fails to consider is how much Jacob actually loves her. Just like when we look back at Abraham and Sarah. Sarah was barren for many, many, many years, but Abraham never said, "Oh, well, if you don't bear me children, then I'm kicking you to the curb." He adored her. And it's important to recognize, in this story, Rachel has Jacob's affections. He's not going to let her go anywhere. He loves her to death. However, he wasn't as fond of Leah. But Leah had the advantage of being able to bear children. So she was, at the very least, useful to him. So good orderly direction might be the universe's way, as I said earlier, of sort of balancing the playing field. You have one thing to offer in this situation, and somebody else has something else. Think of times that you've been envious of someone. What were you envious of? In what ways would having that made your life richer? Had you done anything to prevent yourself from having that blessing? Maybe you made choices that changed your direction. That person had something that you wanted. Think about what things you might have had that made your life rich and meaningful that they may have lacked. A lot of times we look at celebrities and we think, oh my gosh, they live in these big houses and they don't have to worry about money and they've got all this fame and it's exciting and how awesome might that be? And we may get envious of them, but they also don't have privacy. They don't have a lot of times they don't have the ability to have quiet family time. They don't have the ability to go to Disney World with everybody else and not get accosted by the paparazzi. So we may have things in our life that make it rich and meaningful that they can't have because of the choices that they've made. Leah went on to produce 3 more sons. Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her, enabled her to conceive. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son and said, God has taken away my disgrace. She named him Joseph. It will be important to remember in the upcoming stories, in the upcoming chapters, that Joseph is the only child that Rachel actually physically bears to Jacob herself. So Joseph takes a special place in Jacob's heart. Rachel and Leah brought richness to Jacob's life in different ways. It's important to remain mindful of what we have instead of focusing on what we lack. Instead of saying, I will be happy when, just say, I will be happy. Not, I will be happy when I finally get this paid off or I finally graduate. Stop. Look around. What do you have right now in your life that makes it rich and meaningful that you can say, I'm happy? There's never going to be a point in your life that everything is perfect. So what in your life right now can help you say, I'm happy?